Day after day, I must face a world of strangers where I don't belong. I'm not that strong.
Yo, what up, everybody, and welcome back to the DreSays Podcast. We are on episode number 25. Episode 25. So surprised that we made it this far, but we made it to episode 25. And back to my 2021 regularly scheduled program. Last week I did a solo one. This week we are going to have a special guest. I have my really good friend Christin Harley with me. Say hello.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for having me, Dre.
No problem. Thanks for coming on. You are like a few special group that have been on the show, because I haven't had a lot of people on here. I've been doing a lot of solo ones. But you are a special individual, so I wanted to have you on the show. Christin is a teacher. I feel like I'm in school right now, to be honest. I have to like watch how I speak. I have to like make sure I focus and pay attention, no nodding off halfway through this. No, but Christin is a teacher. What year or what grade do you teach?
So I teach second grade currently.
Okay.
I am in West Irondequoit.
In West Irondequoit. So if you guys aren't from the Rochester area, that is a suburb of Rochester, New York, and you teach second grade. I remember when the pandemic started, you were posting videos, and this is before this is before you were even like back to school. You were just putting videos out for like your students and other kids, right?
So yeah, I kind of became a YouTube star. That's kind of the joke. I didn't know how else to get instruction to my kids that was good, and also flexible for when they could see it, because it was kind of a crazy. We weren't ready for that time. So yeah, I paid Cooper, one of my kiddos, to be my videographer. So he would videotape me, and we would post it to YouTube. And Charlton would often share it on Facebook, because I guess he was really proud of me. I'm like, that's not my audience,
but that's why I was sharing it.
I know, but a lot of people were able to use it, so I am grateful for that. I'm not the biggest tech person, but I was never been so more grateful for tech in my life than I was for those 3 months, because it helped me stay connected with my kiddos.
Yeah, you were like one of the few people I was reposting, because I have a lot of friends that are teachers. I had a friend who was a gym teacher, and she was posting like workouts with her kids that you could do at home. And this is all before they were asking teachers to do this stuff. You guys were just taking it upon yourself to do. And I thought that was amazing, because I'll be honest, back when I was in school, we didn't have all this stuff. So if we would have been stuck in a pandemic then, like, what would we have done? We'd have just been stuck. There would have been no lesson plans. There would have been nobody to teach us. And for you to essentially make sure your kids and other kids had like lessons that they could keep up on was pretty awesome to me. I thought that was amazing.
Well, thank you. It's always about the kids.
Right. And you mentioned your husband, Charlton. We're not going to talk too much about him, because I'm trying to be on my best behavior today. But I met Charlton when I was 18 years old, and essentially the same time around when I met you. Not me being 38, we're talking 20 years later. You mentioned Charlton shared it on Facebook because he was very proud of you. Charlton is also a very big TikTok star.
He is.
I think he's at a couple million now, right?
I don't know if it's a couple of million. I think it's just like 1.1 million.
1.1 million.
Just, right?
Right, just 1.1 million. So when he started sharing your stuff, did you feel a little weird? Like, well, I know everybody's gonna be looking at his stuff.
Sharing my videos? No, I am not one that loves to be on camera. But it's for the greater good, right? I know I had joined a teacher page on Facebook of people that were just looking for suggestions and help, because that was not anything we were prepared for by any means, nor were we trained to teach via technology. Right. And I remember one woman saying, "Oh my gosh, my husband is sick with COVID. He teaches second grade, and I'm also a teacher, and I don't know what to do." And I'm like, "Well, here's my YouTube channel. There's some lessons. Feel free to use them." Just because it was like we had to come together and just help each other out, because essentially, again, teaching for me anyways is always about my students, and I will do whatever I can to help move them forward. But yeah, I mean, it was uncharted territories. I'm sure that's a very overused phrase for the past year, but I don't know how else you say it. It really was uncharted territories. So just
Everything
standing
is
together.
new. Yeah, everything is new nowadays. And I would have thought by like 2021 I would be very used to this, and I'm still not. There's still like
It's hard.
there's still days where like I hop out of the car and get ready to go into work and I'm like, "Oh, forgot the mask," and gotta go back to the car and grab a mask. Or like
Yeah.
just being in a store and like I'll be looking down at my phone and go to walk into line and not realize that I literally just walked right behind someone. I'm like, "Oh, let me back up for a minute." So like this is
Yeah.
very different. And I know like I'm not sure how much second graders are getting into like school and stuff like that. I know they're doing a lot more than we ever did in second grade, but
Oh,
to
yeah.
have to concentrate at home when you don't have a teacher in front of you, like any of my teachers would tell you that they had to constantly grab my attention, like, "Hey, Andre," like, so I couldn't imagine having to sit at home in front of a computer and try to grasp these things.
It's hard, we have 3 kids that are school age. So last year we had a 6th grader last year, an 8th grader, and a 10th grader, and I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm really pretty good at teacher, but oh my gosh, don't go past 3rd grade math for me. I was like, CJ, can you help Noah with this 6th grade math, because it's not what I'm skilled at, right? I know what I need to know extremely well, and I'm like, that
Right.
I don't use every day, so I'm not sure what to do. But yeah, it is hard. It was hard for them. I think it was hard on the parents because we were all thrown into this really just out of the blue. No one was expecting that to happen. I think when it did happen, we really thought it was going to be for 4 to 6 weeks. Like I left my classroom with stuff. Like I brought my chart paper and my markers and
Right.
some of my manuals. I was like, I need to get back in there.
I
Like
gotta get
this
more
is not
stuff.
ending.
Not
Yeah,
enough.
I was like, okay, and a few friends and I had like a countdown. We're like, or count up, I guess. We're like, okay, almost. And then we're like, oh my God, we're on week 10. And then, just a few months ago, someone's like, do you remember when we really thought it was all going to be done in 6 weeks? And here we are a year later, and we're still dealing with the effects of COVID.
Right, right. And
So,
I was talking about it actually in the last episode that I had, just about I like my alone time, and it kind of scared me how much I enjoyed it because I was home for 6 months. I was at home for
time.
6, right, and I wasn't technically like I was working, but not like my day job. I was doing all the fly deaf stuff. I
Right.
started this podcast, but 6 months and I was okay. So I was like, okay, something's not right. But besides that, it was kind of weird that like it flew by so quickly. How awkward it was once I did get back around, the general public, and like there's still a fear there. Like when I could be in a store and there'll be like 20 people in there, even if they have masks, I'm like, yo, that's a lot of people in here. Like this is different. Like so I can't imagine putting all of those kids back in the building. Like when it happens, how awkward that's gonna be. And who's to say when it's a safe time to do so? You know what I mean?
Right. Well, I think that's where, we have to rely on the science.
Right.
And I think one of the best analogies I can say, honestly, was shared with me by a friend of mine. And she said, we're all in the same storm, but we're on really different ships. And I was like,
Right.
that is the best analogy I've heard, because,
Cool.
some people are honest to God living the life because they
Yeah.
have the resources to pay for what they need to pay or the support people in place. Most of us, I think, are on a ship, and we have some smooth sailing days, and there's days where we're roughing it, and then
Right.
there are people that are just in that lifeboat holding on for dear life, just trying to keep their head above water. And I get that. And I think with everything going on, we just have to remember that the path I'm walking looks probably very different than the person walking next to me.
Right.
So yeah, I think there is still a lot of fear, but I also think there's also a lot of hope. I think we've made a lot of growth, and I think it's hard to sometimes always see the positives, but I know for us, we've tried to reflect a lot on the positives. We did hikes once a week, which my kids at first didn't really love, but I think they realized that that was something I really needed.
Right.
And we had way more family time. I think my kiddos last year was like, Mom, we never sat down for dinner every night at this time because we're always busy,
Right.
So I think a lot of positives have come out of it, but I do think you're right. It's been over a year. I think people are tired. But there are people just traveling this course and navigating it very differently.
So right, exactly. So you're a teacher, a mom of 6.
Did not give birth to all of them, but yes,
Right.
mom of
You are a mom of 6. You are a genuine mom of 6. And you're married to Charlton. We're not even gonna get to
Well, that's why I say I'm a mom of 8
that.
because he counts twice. I love you, honey. But we joke that he counts twice. That is
Oh
our
yeah,
little
for
joke in our
sure.
family.
Sure. And then, so on top of that, like, so I always joke, and I've told Charlton a couple times, you're like, he's grateful. He should be very grateful to have
Yeah.
you. You're kind of a superwoman here. So,
Well, it goes both ways.
a teacher, a mom of six, married to Charlton. And then your next endeavor is you are running as a candidate for the school board in Penfield, right?
I am.
Are you excited about this?
I am. I really am. I have to be really honest. Like, this is happening sooner than I planned. My original plan was to run in 6 years when my kids were out of school. I'd have way more time on my hands, right?
Right.
Um, and I was just driving to work one day. It was like a voice was talking to me. I know some people think that's weird, but it's like, why are you waiting? I was like, why am I waiting till my kids are done? Like right now I have 3 kids in the district that are still part of that student body.
Right.
And we have 3 that are alumni, and I have a pulse on what's going on. I know, what our community is like. I'm a pretty involved parent. I would like to think that we've formed some really great relationships over the years. A lot have been because of our children and things they have been involved in. So I picked up the phone and called Charlton on the way to work. I'm like, I have a thought and I need you to think about this. And he's like, I think that's brilliant. You should do it. I'm like, okay, we need to have a little bit longer than a 10-second conversation about this while I'm driving to work.
Right.
And I immediately went to work that day and I Facebooked a couple of my friends, like, does anyone know if you want to run from board, when those are due? And people are like, oh, I totally vote for you. I'm like, oh, hold on, haven't made a decision. I was just trying to think if it was even a possibility. It just kind of popped, sort of popped in my head sort of this morning. So of course I love my friends. I have a huge support network and they've been great and I can't thank them enough for that. And it pushed me. Like that afternoon, I immediately connected with an Irondequoit board member who I've known forever. I taught her daughter and said, can you kind of give me the lowdown? I'm thinking about this and I kind of want to know more. And then I have a friend on the board in Webster, and I spoke to that person. And then I called my brother. My brother's a politician. So I'm like, can you tell me a little bit, like running? I know it's not a political office, but tell me what your thoughts are. And I talked to him, and he connected me with someone from Elmira School Board, and just trying to really do my research because I didn't want to bite off more than I could chew. Being a mom of 6, I have realized sometimes I have a hard time saying no, and I'm like, whoa, back up. So if I'm going to do this, I want to make sure that I'm 100% in, because the kids deserve that. Like, that's the honest truth. They deserve it. So after, I went to the district office, I got the folder and I looked at things and I was like, I think I'm going to do this. I talked to my husband. He was so supportive. He's like, no, for the greater good, there's always collateral damage. I'm like, you understand our collateral damage is probably going to be our family. And he's like, Christin, this is something you've talked about. Why not do it while your kids can see you modeling, having a voice in your community and giving back, and while they can have an impact on some of the things you're doing. And so then I, of course, pulled my kids aside because like I said, we have a 7th grader and a 9th grader and 11th grader. I'm like, I need your thoughts. And I want you to be honest. Like, how do you feel about this? And to be honest, they didn't really all know what the board was.
I could understand, because at that age, I wouldn't know either. But you, I don't think, shy from being honest with you anyway. So that'll kind of work easier.
Yeah, so they didn't really know. One of them was like, are you going to make more money? I'm like, no, it's kind of voluntary. You're going to probably see a little less of me, and we might be freezing some dinners and making them ahead of time, but I just want you to be comfortable with, if I do this and I run and the people choose to vote me in, like, this could impact you because you're in the schools, and I just want you to know that. And they're like, Mom, do what you want. Like, if this is what you want to do, you do it. So
being very supportive.
Here I am,
running
for the board. I've got yard signs. It's a little surreal, but it's a little weird. If you come to our front yard, you'll see it. I'm like, this is really weird. But
do you think being a teacher? How long have you been a teacher now?
So 20 years.
Right. So 20 years you've been a teacher. Do you think that's going to impact you as a member on the board? Do you think that's going to be a positive impact? Is it going to make it easier for you?
Yes, I do, because, you know, I've been a New York State public school teacher for 20 years, so I know New York State's expectations. I have, as a teacher, I work with a variety of parents. I work with administrators. I work with other teachers. And I think that role is really crucial to a board member. I think having someone with an educational background is huge. I do think having elementary experience is really big. I think sometimes we get forgotten about at the little grades because we think about, hey, this is the next step. We need to get this many percentage graduating high school and blah, blah, blah. But can't get there without us, right? You know, we lay the foundational work, and I think it's important to have that perspective.
I think all teachers matter, because essentially kids spend more time with you guys during the day, especially at the younger ages, because they're hopefully going to bed a lot sooner than the older kids. Right.
Hopefully.
Yeah. So like they're spending most of their day with you while their parents are working, or, you know what I mean, handling business at home or at work. So of course you guys are important. I actually think the lower grade teachers are more important, because once kids get to high school, they kind of have, you know, their mindset on what they're going to do and how they're going to be in life. So there's still some molding there, but you guys are like the foundation of it.
Yeah, I think we definitely lay the foundational skills, but I wouldn't dismiss any teacher's role.
Oh no, of course not.
Because I look at my own kids, and I think in any field or any profession, anything you do in life, it's about relationships. So I'm always grateful for the relationships that my kids have formed with their teachers, because without that, how do you move forward? Like, how do you really learn if you don't have a relationship? So, yeah, I mean, I think it's all important, but I do think sometimes we get forgotten about.
So what do you think, okay, with you trying to get elected, if you do get elected, what do you think like the biggest challenges are going to be, especially in that area?
Well, I think honestly, the biggest challenge right now is just we kind of have some division in our community. And I think a lot of it has to do with the pandemic, honestly.
Right.
It's been a long year. People are tired. Like I said earlier, we're navigating this very differently. And I think we talk about being Penfield strong. And I think that's important for us to remember, is that we need to work together as a team to do what's best for everybody. So I think it's just really bringing our community together. So people walk away saying, I'm really proud to live in Penfield. I'm proud to be part of this community. I think right now that's probably our biggest barrier, is just really drawing people closer together.
So
and, you know, you get there.
With that divide,
it takes work.
You said that divide is around the pandemic, right?
I think so. I'm sure there's many reasons. I'm not going to assume what everyone's divide is. I do think that the pandemic has created it, because like I said earlier, like some people are holding on to that lifeboat for dear life, and they're tired, and we don't know what everyone else is facing. We've had some rough days. Don't get me wrong. There were days in the last spring where I was like, oh my God, if I make it to the end of the year, it's going to be a minor miracle, because I was teaching my 20-some second graders and also working with my, at the time, 6th grader, 8th grader, and 10th grader. And, you know, there's only so much that everyone can do. And sometimes I would get to Thursday, I'm like, oh my God, okay, we need to be done. Right. But you couldn't be done. Like, you still had another day to get through, and you would do whatever you could on the weekend to kind of recharge and start all over again. So I do think that's part of where some of the division has come. But I think, go ahead. Sorry.
With that, like, how do you feel about, because you're saying it's a lot of work, how do you feel about like the possibilities of them opening schools again?
Well, so there's many sides to that. Okay. And that's a huge question right now, right? So as a teacher, I want my kids back in school. I really want them all in one room. I want them face to face with me. I want things to be, quote, as normal as they can be, so I can teach the way that I works really well. As a parent, I really would love my kids to be back, but honestly, some of them all have different comfort levels.
Right.
Even in my own family, their comfort levels are different. And that just reminds me all the time that what's really good for me may not be good for my neighbor. It may not be good for my neighbor down the road or people on the other side of town. So yes, I really want my kids back in school. Yes, I want schools to fully reopen. I think Penfield's fortunate in that our K-5 kiddos can go back they're going back starting Monday,
Okay.
5 days a week, because the state just changed the guidelines for K-5. The hard part, I think, for families of 7-12 kids is they haven't changed those guidelines. We are still required to be 6 feet apart at the 7-12 level. Right. And I think that sends confusing messages to families, because it doesn't make sense in their eyes why K-5 can go back versus 7-12. And I get that. Like, I'm frustrated too.
Is K-5 less vulnerable? Is that what the state's saying, essentially?
That's my understanding. So K-5 can be back with only 3 feet social distancing, where 7-12 is still 6 feet social distancing. So that's the big, like, my kids are all, West Irondequoit's a little different. So I've had my kids 4 days a week, but it looks different in every grade level in every building. And West Irondequoit is extremely small compared, to Penfield. But we have neighborhood schools. So we have 6 elementary buildings in West Irondequoit, and Penfield only has 4. And our elementary buildings are K-3 and Penfield's K-5. So that in of itself puts West Irondequoit at a big advantage. Like,
K-3 neighborhood K-5, you mean kindergarten to 3rd grade, kindergarten to 5th grade?
Yeah.
Just for my non-teacher people out here.
Yep.
I'm trying to catch up to. Okay.
Yeah. So that's a big difference. Like, that's a huge factor that played in our ability to do 4 days a week. So my kids are split between 2 rooms. So they have me part of the time, and then when I can't be there, they have a teacher assistant that's assigned to me. So.
Oh, really?
It looks
okay.
Yeah. So, and where Penfield K-5 has been up until Monday they get to go back. They have been 2 days a week in person. And then the other 3 days, I believe Wednesday is asynchronous, which is the new educational word, synchronous and asynchronous, which means it's not live instruction.
Explain, because I had no idea what that was.
Because you're not, I know, I'm like, oh, Zoom needs to go, and asynchronous and synchronous needs to go. Those 3 words.
So what are those really quickly? Asynchronous is what?
So asynchronous is when instruction is not live. So it's where you're assigning things via Schoology, Teams, Seesaw, whatever your platform is that your school district is using.
Okay.
And then synchronous is live instruction. So it might be your teacher's
no idea.
Zooming, like in doing a Zoom.
Yeah.
Or it could be Teams has it's not called Zoom. I can't think of the name because I should know because my kiddos use it. But it's similar. It's basically what we're doing, but through Microsoft Teams.
Oh, it's called WebEx. Is that the way you're looking for? Through Microsoft Teams? Yeah, it should be WebEx. We use it.
Well, Microsoft Teams is an account that the kids in Penfield, at least at the middle school up level, have.
Okay.
I'm not sure. I'm being really frank. I do not know what the little kids younger children have used.
I'm gonna use these terminologies with my niece and nephew and blow their minds. They're gonna be like, how did Uncle Andre know those words? I'm gonna use them. Watch.
Well, I don't know if your niece and nephew are gonna know synchronous and asynchronous.
they should. They're 11 and 15, about to be 16, and they're 100%.
Yes.
They're 100% at home too. My sister is not allowing them to go back to school. Her and her husband are. They both have MBAs, and like my sister works from home for the government, so she's like, nope, I'm here. They don't need to go back yet. But she's very, how do I say that? She's not a hypochondriac, but she's terrified of corona.
She has fear.
Yeah,
sure. And that's okay.
They're her kids, so of course she does.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
And even to the point where like I don't push that fear in her, so I stay away as much as possible. I just FaceTime, and if I have to drop something off, I'll just run by really quick and drop it off. But so are you for them going back to school? I know you want to, as a mom and as a teacher, you want them to go back to school, but you want it to be safe first, essentially, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean,
because I know there's a lot of people that are pushing for it to open back up before it should, essentially.
And one of the things I think we need to keep in mind is 7-12 can open until New York State alters their guidelines.
Right.
So we're a public school, so we're governed by New York State. and I don't know if everyone truly understands it. Like, I get that because I'm an educator. But if we were to return at any grade level, it's my understanding there is not a single school in our county returning because our infections rate is too high for us to return. We're in a red zone in New York, in our county. So because of that, we can't return until that decreases.
And what's the penalty on that?
I would assume it would be state funding.
Gotcha. So we just want to hold off until they're okay with us returning to school. So
I think your taxpayers probably do, but I think but there's so many stakeholders in this, and you have to think about everybody, which is hard to do because we're not going to please everybody. What's right for me is not right for the person down the road. But I mean, we have stakeholders that are on a fixed income. You know, we have stakeholders that have lost their job and are just trying to get by. I know in our community alone, we have a food shelf, and we just did a donation drive for Cooper for confirmation. And they told us that in our community, we have 150 families using that food shelf every single week. And that was mind-boggling to me, like just mind-boggling to me. And I was like, wow. And I was like, you probably should be doing this more often, right? I mean, I figured it had gone up, but I'll be honest, like I didn't realize it was that high. It was really eye-opening for me.
So do you think with some people wanting the school to be open, do you think there's any tension between the board and the community at this point?
Oh yeah, I think there's tension. I think saying there isn't would be being dishonest. There's definitely I get it. But like I said earlier, like I don't know, I believe in working together, and I think we really need to do that. I think as hard as it is some days, we just need to really work together with each other, have our goals. What do we need to do to make them happen? Is there other things we can be doing as a school district to get them back sooner? If our infections rate is that high, maybe not everybody, but some people, maybe we need to look at our behaviors. Are we being part of the problem? I don't know. There's just so many factors to this that it's hard. It's really hard. And I just think as a board member, the biggest thing that we need to remember is we're representing everybody. Like it's everybody,
right?
We're representing that family in the yacht. We're representing that family in the regular ship and the ones in the lifeboat. And we have to really be empathetic for what people are going through and keep that in the back of our head at all times.
Now I don't think there's a better way to say that. I'm gonna be honest with you. That's feels like one of my lines when I end my segment. That was, but it was the truth though. It's 100% the truth. Like a community, that's the thing. Like I think people forget like the value of actual community in the world. Like especially like I live in the art district in our city of Rochester. So like there's not a real community presence. There is when we need to band together to take care of something. There's always a community presence. But like on a day-to-day, there's not a huge community presence because everyone down here is, mid to late 20s, 30s, you know what I mean? They don't have families when they're living down here that much. Like it's just a bunch of single people or like younger couples. Or younger couples, to be honest, in this area. So you guys have the ability to have like a communal feeling. So like since there's somewhat of a tension there, like I think that would be like a very big thing to focus in on. Like if everyone who is in Penfield is watching this right now, if you guys could come together as a community, I think you would strive so much better. Like, and not saying that it's bad. I mean, Penfield is a very nice town, a very nice community. But I think during all this crazy stuff that's going on in the world, I think banding together as a community would be like the best thing possible.
Yeah. We're stronger together, right?
Correct. 100%. Okay. So before we go, what are your top 3 things, if elected, that you want to focus on?
Top 3. I think first is going to be relationships. I think I need to make sure that I have relationships with all stakeholders. I need to make sure that people are comfortable coming to me. I need to make sure that I'm hearing everybody and I'm able to put myself in their shoes and understand their side. I may not always agree with it, but I think I need to make sure I understand it.
Right.
I need to remember that, like I said earlier, what's right for me may not be right for the right other person. I think transparency, I think people are really craving that right now. And I know it's been really hard because anyone that's in education, especially in New York right now, we know like the messages, they've been so inconsistent. And 1 week we have this, and then the next week the guideline is changing. So that's very overwhelming to people. And I think one of the biggest things in any profession, any field that you can do, it's communication. I really think we need strong communication. I know as a teacher, I've been able to figure out a lot because I'm pretty resourceful. And I know if I can't find it this place for our district, I can find it that other place.
Right.
I know as a professional, if things aren't communicated to me clearly, it really creates a lot of anxiety for me at times because I'm a planner. Like I need to know what's coming. And if your communication isn't clear and I don't know what's coming, it just throws me off. And I think given that we're in a pandemic, parents really need that. They need very clear communication. And the communication can honestly be, we don't know yet. I think that's okay. And even just sharing that to all of our stakeholders, maybe in a uniform platform. Yeah. Because I know they're in multiple places, but if you don't necessarily access that spot, then maybe you missed it.
Simplicity and communication are always key.
Yeah. So I guess those would be my three. Yes.
Well, that makes sense. Well, so everybody knows when are they voting? When do we vote here?
In New York State, it is May 18th. So regardless of who you vote for, please go vote.
May 18th. Please go
May
vote.
18th. All over New York State. If you're a registered voter.
About these. People forget about these smaller elections.
Local.
Right. Local elections. Like I just did a while back, I did a photo shoot with Summer Burke, who people had no idea who she was that I knew. My people that I know didn't know who she was. And I was explaining to them, I'm like, read up on your local politicians. Like you need these things. People who live in your community, you should definitely be voting for your school board because these are the people that essentially have like the plans for your children. You know what I mean? So yes, everything starts at the state level, but home and community are very key. So what date again?
Tuesday, May 18th.
Tuesday,
so
May 18th.
Go vote.
Go vote.
I don't care who you vote for. Well, vote for me in Penfield.
I care.
But even if you don't support me, I'm okay with that. I just really want people to vote. Like I think we have people that have worked really hard for us to get this right. Right. And use it, take advantage of it, and let your voice be heard. So May 18th it is. May
18th. I don't care if you don't want to vote for it. If you're my friend and you're voting for Penfield, make sure you vote for Christin. Thank you for being on my podcast. This is awesome.
Thanks for having me.
It didn't feel so much like school, but it did feel kind of like school. I appreciate it. It gave me flash.
Well, I would have corrected your grammar, right?
Exactly. But guys, thanks for watching again. Please stay tuned, like and subscribe as always, and I'll see you later.
Bye, Dre. Thanks.
Bye.
Day after day, I must face a world of strangers where I don't belong. I'm not that strong.